coming. I'm gonna tell y'all who else. We have a queen in the building to join us. From Planned Parenthood. And y'all, I have a personal queen also to add to the stage. We all know her as so many things. I call her the nation's congresswoman. She's certainly... Okay, I hear y'all chanting, so let me tell you, hold up. Listen to this. I was gonna do this at the end, but y'all so hyped right now. We might need to do this now. So recently, y'all's dumb president decided that it was smart of him to attack our queen.
Yes.
And then there were some other people who happened to be Democrats that thought they should chastise this queen. She didn't know I was gonna do this. So this is what I want us to do. Everybody who has their video cameras out, get your phone out and span the room. And what I want us to all do is, if you're not standing, stand, because we're gonna make an illustrative point.
Okay.
And this is what we're gonna say to Chuck, to Nancy, and to Donald. You guys ready?
Yes.
Say, we stand with Maxine.
We stand with Maxine.
Let's grab your neighbor's hand.
All right.
Grab your neighbor's hand.
Grab
Say
it.
it one more time for the people in the back.
Right.
Say, we stand with Maxine.
We stand with Maxine.
I think they heard them. Let's get on with it.
Yes, Auntie.
Okay. So here we go. You all have led some fantastic careers, some amazing careers. Gary and I just had a small talk before you all got out here. And Remy, I really want to start with you.
Remy!
So Remy, since we know you're not dumb, right? We know that. She asks us all the time, for those of you that don't know, are you dumb? Not dumb. She's not dumb. You have used a reality show platform to really hold up the pillars of Black love. And recently, we had the opportunity to celebrate with you your renewal of vows.
Yes! Yes!
Me and my husband, we've been together for 13 years. We last month made 10 years that we've been married. And we also announced that in December we'll be having our first child together. I can't believe I just said that out loud. That's the first time.
Well, Remy, do you have any other good news? And everybody needs to rub shoulders with Remy. She's full of good news right now. What else do you have coming? Are there any other projects you want to announce or share with us?
I'm doing so many different things. Like, music is a wonderful platform. It allows you to get into so many other fields and so many doors that you probably never even imagined. I never even thought that I'd be able to do music and make a living off of it. And I've been able to pretty much take care of my whole family. And a lot of my friends, they've been able to escape prison and the ghetto and take care of their family as well. And then we're able to do things like branch off into talk shows and stuff like that. I'm trying to be like my mentor right here. And movies, theater, my album coming out in another month and a half. There's just so much many things. I'm truly, truly blessed. And I get to share it with somebody that I truly love and that's been there and been down for me. So I can't really complain about it.
And Queen, for you, I was reading about an initiative that you have rolled out called the Queen Collective. Can you talk to us a little bit about that you're giving women? In August, you are celebrating a very important birthday Y'all aren't gonna believe this. She's turning 80 in August. Not only does black not crack with you, ma'am, but also I'm trying to figure out how you have double the energy than more than people half your age. And there are so many fights to fight, and you fight every single one of them, all in stilettos. So can you just give us like some of the tips for how we can keep this going? Like, it's so important. She's so fly, y'all.
Okay, Angela, let me just tell you that I have so much hope for the future because of young women like you. And I want to tell Mary J. that I've watched her from the time she first got started. And from the time that she got started to where she is now is phenomenal. And I use her as an example of what we can do. And for Mary J., I want you to know I'm so proud of you. So very proud of you. And thank you for sharing with us the real stuff about who you are and what you're going through. Thank you. So I want you to know that Queen Latifah is another one that I watched from the time that she first got started, when she used to wear kind of a crown on her head. And I want you to know that I organized a big group of women in California years ago called the Black Women's Forum, and I tried to get a lot of people to come and talk with women and share their experiences. I could not get a lot of people, but guess who came? Queen Latifah. You remember that? You remember that? And so first of all, let me just say that these women that you see here are women to be admired. Not only because they're talented, they're brilliant, but because they had the courage to do what they do and to be who they are. Give them a big round of applause. I have good news to share. I tweeted this morning, I reminded the President of the United States that women all over the world are coming together to save the children that he has in detention camps all over the world, all over the country. I told him that a judge had decided that he had to get those kids back to their parents by a certain time. He has not done it, and I told him there will be no more excuses. He's responsible, and he can climb all that he wants. This is the last time that he's going to do. We're going to get these children back to their parents. So people are joining together all over, and I want to tell you, young people, why this issue is so important. It's not about just immigration and who gets to come across the border. It is about the fact that we have laws to deal with that. And certainly we need to do more for comprehensive immigration reform. But this now is about the children. They decided to use it as a tactic, separating the children from their parents so that they could force the parents to go back. And he just said to them, parents, you can go back to where you came from with or without your children. I've never seen anybody talk to families that way. In addition to that, we must be on the forefront of this issue because our families were split up, they were divided. We were sold off on the auction block. And they took the bodies away from the family and they sent them to a plantation somewhere. And then they took the boys and they started them at a young age because they wanted to keep them for years to come to work the plantations. And they sent the girls and the mothers to the big houses to do all of the domestic work. They were abused, they were treated very badly, but they endured all of that. We cannot stand by and watch children be separated from their parents and not speak up. We know what this is all about. And so I want to thank everybody who's tweeting, retweeting, and getting into this battle and having something to say. Black women are leading the way all over the country. We're in a city where a black woman is mayor. And right close to the city is a state where a black woman is going to be the governor. I want you participating. I want you speaking up. And for me, I'm in this fight. Thank you.
Things about our activism as parents, as you are bringing life into the world, is that we often go to the movement by ourselves. We don't understand the importance of taking our children with us. And in my case, I thought that my parents were cursing me with this like terrible, I felt like I was in a nightmare all the time, that I had to be marching and protesting. But as I got older, it kicked in for me why I needed to be in the movement. And when I had my own experience, my son's father was murdered when my son was 2. So my son is now 19. So for the last 17 years of my life, I have been raising this young black man on my own and have understood that the movement is no longer an option for me. I absolutely have to get up and be involved every day because his life literally depends on my engagement. And so I would just say to parents who are out here today, don't go to the rally alone. Even the child that's 2 and 3 and 5 and 10 years old needs to be with you, because when you begin to instill it in them, they say train up a child, right? And so when you start to instill it in them from very young, as they get older, they will at one point decide to go on their own, and they no longer had to wake me up anymore after my son's father was murdered. I got up and was at the rally before they could get there. And so I think that parenting is really important, that you understand that being in the movement is a family affair. Everybody has to be engaged.
Birthday cakes on Malcolm X's birthday flags, right? And I look at what kind of black and very black. But what was missing in my family was a lot of consciousness and a lot of history, but it was not, there was a piece missing about what to do about the injustice that they taught me to recognize. And this woman in the audience, Fire Rose Toray, stand up, Fire Rose. Stand up now, you done shot my name out. This woman right here, her name is Fire Rose Toray. When I was 14 years old, she came, this is why what you said is important. She came and told me that I was a leader. Nobody had ever said that to me. I was a little black girl from the Bronx with a lot of knowledge and a lot of mouth and a lot of attitude, like a lot of these little children that we see nowadays. And she told me, and the other children in our program, she said, you are a leader, period. Full stop, there was no caveat to that, you are a leader. And then they threw us out in the world and said, we're gonna teach you how to do this we're gonna teach you by doing. And so I was organizing at 14 years old. I was calling myself an activist and organizer at 14, 15 years old because some adults came and found us and said, you don't have to have the best grades, you don't have to be the best athlete, there's no caveat to this. You have power now. And I think
as well as Smirnoff and HP to create the Queen Collective. And what we're doing is giving an opportunity to 2 female directors to create their own project from A to Z. So we will finance that project. We will support them in every possible way monetarily. And once the project is done, we'll get them distribution for it, whether it's theatrical, Netflix, Hulu, wherever it needs to go, as well as market and promote it. So they'll be taken care of from idea to fruition.
That's good.
And the reason it's so important, and I'm very thankful to be partnered with Procter & Gamble on this, particularly Mark Pritchard, is because there's a huge disparity in terms of the creative of what you see in film, television, what's done by men and what's done by women. Out of the 250 movies or so you saw last year, 4% were done by women. Out of all the commercials you see, 10% are done by female directors, where we're over 50% of the buying power. So we need to see how many times, and the women in the audience can attest to how many times they've seen a commercial that they're like, huh? Or what? Something that truly does not quite represent what we are and who we are, because it's not done by us. It doesn't have our touch. And it's a benefit to the advertisers because they've seen their numbers go up 20% when it is something that's actually shot by a woman for women. So we want to help kind of change that gap in terms of how many women directors and writers are available, as well as really just champion women's equality. We should be making as much as a man for the same work. So That's what we're going to do.
And Alyssa, I think that's such a great transition into the work that you're doing at Planned Parenthood. You guys stand with Black women. She's got her button on, folks. We can zoom in on that button. But I also think it's critically important to address wage disparities, particularly when you talk about Black women, particularly when you talk about the fact that we're the largest group and growing group of entrepreneurs in this country. Talk about the importance of standing with Black women and some of the initiatives Planned Parenthood has to do just that.
Yes, thank you, and I'm just so honored to be here to represent Planned Parenthood, especially, the button Stand with Black Women, the campaign that the Black women at Planned Parenthood, who work at Planned Parenthood, started. It's a campaign that we started to say, hey, Black women have all this economic opportunity, this power. We are, leaders in the ballot box. We're the reason that some of these offices we're trying to save, we're the reasons that we protected them, but then we're still dying at higher rates in childbirth, 3 to 4 times the rates of white women in childbirth. So how do we bridge that gap? And to Queen's point and to your point, Angela, about pay equity, Black women are still experiencing poverty rates higher than so many other people. And one of the key pieces to bridging the gap of opportunity is being able to take care of your body, have agency over your body, be able to get the education you need, be able to get the healthcare you need, whether it's contraception or just even a healthcare screening. The reason we're dying at higher rates of breast cancer is not because we're getting it a lot more than white women, it's because we're getting diagnosed at later stages. So how do we catch that earlier? And so it's so important for an organization like Planned Parenthood when I think most people look at women's health care, reproductive rights, Planned Parenthood, and they think white, middle-aged women. They don't look at women like us on the stage. They don't look at queer folks or trans folks or low-income folks. They don't think of that when you think about reproductive health care. And this pen is a call to action for all of us to center Black women in this conversation.
Practices that you put in place to help you recognize how to get out of that dark time. I'm going to start with you, Michelle. I know, right there. Dark times. Okay, so every day I start with thinking about gratitude. Okay. And what I mean by that is my new normal is thinking about just opening my eyes every single day. In 2006, I was diagnosed with lupus, and it almost took my life twice. And so, in some cases, I put my career ahead of my own health. That's a lesson, folks. Just don't do that. I just wake up every day thinking about what is it that I can do to make lives better for someone else. I'll be 50 next year, and I just feel as if I've had my day in the sun, as you put it, that I get more gratification of helping the next generation of women who look like me realize their potential. And so that's how I wake up every single day. That's what motivates me to do the work that I do. So in terms of obstacles, it's about gratitude. It's about, just leaving a place in better condition than when I entered. But it's also about thinking, what is it that I'm supposed to do? Why am I here? My father used to say that you're not here to take up space. You're here to make a difference. And that's how I live my life every single day. So I don't look at experiences as obstacles. I look at them as learning opportunities. And I just grow from them. Got it, yeah. So experiences as opportunities, challenges as opportunities. Nicole, I want you to touch on this too. So entrepreneurship, we know, is not for the faint of heart. And you used to be working, you were VP of hospitality, doing all kinds of incredible things. How do you keep going when life tells you to stop?
So I have a one-word answer for that, and that's God.
Okay.
In that relationship with God looks different for everybody. I'm not a super religious person, but I'm a very spiritual person. And I believe that my purpose is what God has put me here to do. And I think everybody excels in their relationships or their careers, any type of relationship that you have with friends or your partner, when somebody is holding you accountable. And I believe that God is holding me accountable. Every single morning, no matter how I'm feeling, I have to get up and do this work. It's not up to me. This is what I'm here for. And so no matter what's going on, I have that conversation with him and he gets me clear. And I go and do. And I know that if I'm able to do it, I'm going to be okay.
Okay, so So God, key piece, right? I want to break down what that actually looks like in your practice. How do you continue to stay connected to your source when, again, life around you can be telling you, stop, stop, stop? So what's one practice you put in place to keep you connected to God?
So one practice is alone time.
Okay.
Right? So a lot of times, something that I teach the children is meditation. For me, meditation is sitting still and listening and feeling, being clear and present in this moment with these women. That is a sign that I need to keep going in my purpose. So I spend a lot of time alone, and I don't think it's a bad thing to speak to yourself, to speak to God, to learn what you enjoy, to be able to entertain yourself, and to not have to look for outside resources to keep you full. Everything that you need is right in here. So you can put me in an empty room and I can leave that room transformed. I can transform my mood through my mind and my conversation with God.
Okay, so that's a long time. So what I'm picking up from this is do not be afraid. If no one is answering the phone call, there may be purpose in that silence. Okay? So I don't know if y'all can hear what's over here with me, but I'm getting all these yes. So I want you to share right now what keeps you going, especially, and let's talk about your story a little bit. There was a period of time when not everybody knew who you were. They didn't know your story. They didn't know what you were capable of. So now that the microscope is on you, more people are looking to you, and I know that you're driven by using your gifts to be able to create sustainable businesses. How do you keep going?
Kind of like the piggyback on what she said, I pray every day. And every day, like, I definitely include God into anything that I'm doing.
Right.
And I feel like once I started incorporating God into my plans, everything flourished for me. It really did. Like, when I started praying about things and like just letting things go and stop reacting with like me being angry all the time because someone said this about me or someone said that, and I just prayed, like everything went right for me. And that really helped me stay focused and me not worrying about what's going on in the city or like with this person going on in their life. And I just focused on myself. I focused on my brand. I focused on everybody around me, and I eliminated anybody around me that I felt like wasn't right to be around me. And sometimes that's friends you had for years, and you may feel like that you shouldn't let them go because you don't want to get rid of people that've been there with you through everything. But everybody don't grow with you. You know, like everybody don't keep, and it's not even about keeping up. It's about you actually wanting to grow. And if you don't want to grow, then you can't be around me because you're going to stunt my growth. And that's fine. And that's fine for me. At first I was mad about it. And at first I felt like I was being fake and it's not right. But if you stick with people that bring you down and keep your name in drama, and you always got to hear about what's going bad in their life, nothing in your life is going to prosper. So that's one thing I did. I prayed. I asked God to remove anybody around me that shouldn't be around me, and He did.
Right.
So that's what helped me.
Just consistency of prayer. Right, that we're here. Y'all picking up that theme? I mean, it is Sunday. Amen, life. Okay, so Dia, we're going to pick up what was just put down, which is this notion of tribe and circle, right? So the truth is, we know that everybody who's in your circle isn't necessarily on your team. So how do you distinguish and keep yourself going when you recognize that there are shifts that you need to make in the circle that's around you? How do you create the right group of people to help you, your dreams be sustained?
So I operate from the idea that you can keep people in prayer, but not always in person. And you have to be clear about that distinction because energy is so incredibly real. I'm sure one of you have walked into a room, somebody just had an argument. You didn't know about the argument, but you could feel it in the air, right? That is the real scientific illustration of how critical energy really is. So you have to be protective of your energy. It's precious. And if people are coming around and stealing and sapping that, it is okay to step away from that. I believe that most people can change, but it's unfortunate that they usually don't. So I mean it when I say keep people in prayer. We're prayerful that there's somebody around you who has negative energy, and there's a way you can help them, of course you should. But by no stretch of the imagination can you sacrifice the very limited time that God has blessed us with on this earth, chasing somebody else's negative energy and getting in the way of your positive path.
Yes.
Them with a gem, what is it? So they can get from point A to point Z, something you found critical to help you along your journey of building not just a dream, but a sustainable practice around you.
I would say surround yourself around like-minded people. Like, it's not just about them want to have a business too, or them want to be an entrepreneur, but just be around somebody that's ambitious, like somebody that has ambition, that has the drive, that actually wants to do something in life other than watch the shade room all day, or just be on social media all day, or just worry about what's going on in the neighborhood all day. You got to be around people that pushes you just as much as you need to push yourself, and your surrounding definitely, you're going to find out how your future will be by your surroundings. And if you surround yourself around like-minded people, you will go so much further in life.
Ladies, well, now we have specific people. So I want you to go on Amazon.com. I hope you buy Con and read it. If you don't, please just give it 5 stars. Yes. And honestly, if you have time, take 7 to 9 seconds once a week. Find a black female author, go on Amazon.com and give her 5 stars. You cannot play fair. We have a lot to catch up on.
Know it was important to tell your story through the book. Like, why did you feel like there was still space for you in the market?
Yeah, so I would say that speaking of practices, writing has always been something that's very therapeutic for me. And when I'm going into spaces where I'm visiting these homeless shelters and I'm dealing with foster youth who are suffering from post-traumatic disorders, a piece of advice is just living every day like it's your last. Someone said to me the other day, they asked why I don't have a fear in dying. And it's because every single morning I try to say everything that needs to be said and do everything that I need to do. So that if my time is done tonight,
I'm good.
I feel confident in those that I love feel it. In all the things that I want to do, I've given my best attempt.
I find a lot of people spending decades waffling over what they could do. A lot of you are good at 5, 6, 7, 10 things. Pick one. Yes. Pick one, get it done.
That's wonderful. Yes. Flying stealth is not an option. Think about that one thing that's going to differentiate you from everyone else. And make that your brand. Make that your mission statement. Make that your personal elevator speech. And then tell everyone who's willing to listen about it.
Who are interested in business with the state. Prior to my tenure as Secretary of the State Agency for Louisiana, I was in private practice and represented companies that were doing business with both the federal government, state government, and local government. And I served on the New Orleans Startup Fund, which provided funding for entrepreneurs who were interested in starting their own businesses. We launched Power Moves NOLA at Essence in 2015, and so have been very active in the women's empowerment and entrepreneur space for a while now.
Good morning, everyone. The work that we do at Unified Chambers focuses in a couple of areas. We assist businesses by providing them technical assistance that's going to help them get certified, as well as look at contracting opportunities, whether they be federal or whether they be private. On the flip end, for U.S. Fund Chambers, because we are a nonprofit organization, we raise our money and our programming through contracting ourselves. And so we do apply for contracts in the technical assistance space that enables us to help businesses like yourself be able to be successful.
Good morning. Good morning. Well, at the Department of Commerce, Minority Business Development Agency, we actually provide funding for organizations like the U.S. Black Chamber of Commerce to be able to provide those specific services. But we also work with state and local governments, private sector corporations to help them establish minority goals. How much should you be spending with minority firms? So a lot of our work is in the space of advocacy as well. But myself, I wear 15 hats and one of them happens to be contracting officer representative. So I myself, I'm responsible for a lot of purchasing, so I'm very familiar with the process, the environment for contracting, and that's my role.
So thank you, and Ms. Robinson here, the secretary is what I call, Madam Secretary is what I call her in Baton Rouge. She's the Secretary of Revenue. Of course, we're always so humble about our background, but she's a badass, that's what you should know. And she runs the state of Louisiana. She works hand in hand with the governor, and she's the ultimate navigator and facilitator for helping small businesses, particularly women, to navigate state government opportunities. And so I'm so happy to join you here. I'm in the state senate. That's one of the roles I have. I also serve as a leader in one of the parties, and I know this is a nonpartisan event. And so the relationships that I have, I utilize those to help facilitate African American, particularly businesses, to help them navigate at the state and local and federal level all across the country. But as an elected official, it is our job to make sure that just because you get certified, it does not mean that you know how to, you're going to have access points, right? And so it's important that we as public servants are intentional about reaching out and making sure that you have an access point within a particular department and how to access them. So I'll say I'm a navigator and a facilitator.
Services in the legal cannabis industry. And so the way that I came out, I guess, as a brand has a lot to do with the fact of what the industry is missing, which is real role models of users and advocates in the industry that don't look like a stereotypical stoner. So the first thing was coming up with just the name of what I wanted to be referred to. So I'm officially the Weed Head. That's trademark.
So now, Karen, this one actually is for you. So with the influencer industry, that also is a part of building a team. You have those who are directly with you, and then you also have influencers who you can potentially bring onto your team. So how do you feel about that? Do you feel like it's something that's still relevant, something that people should still incorporate into their marketing and digital strategies or into their executive team?
An influencer is definitely very important. I consider myself one for various brands. But with the companies I use, since I see myself as one, I don't necessarily have set one person, but I do work with them in certain regards. For my True Women brand, I reach out to certain people. But it is important. These are people who build a brand, who have an audience, and you can tap into that audience.
How y'all feeling?
Amazing.
Amazing. You look amazing. I'm just fresh, good melanin in the room. All right, so we all know building an executive team is so important, primarily because teamwork makes the dream work. Am I right? Yeah. Your team can either make you or break you, hurt you or help you. So what I want to know from you guys is, what is the number one thing you look for? If you can't name one, name at least minimum, two or maximum two. What is the major thing that you look for when it comes to bringing someone onto your team? Because your team truly does determine how far and how high you'll go. So as you're building a team, what's the number one thing you look for?
Oh, I'll jump in. Hey. So, for me, there's two things. One of them, and I'm sure my fellow panelists will agree, communication is so critically important. Your ability to communicate online, have an online presence, your ability to write emails. And the reason why I say that is that sort of trickles into the second thing. Your ability to communicate transferable skills. So if you are a person, because right now everyone is an influencer, right? Everyone brands themselves as an influencer. But if you can figure out a way, whether you are in an interview and you are a high school student, I run an internship program for young people where I say, look, you might come out of high school feeling like you don't have a ton of experience, but if they are looking for somebody that has risk mitigation skills, and you can talk about having to go from the bus on Rosecrans and Bullis Road to Rosecrans and Long Beach Boulevard, then you understand risk mitigation, right? If they are looking for someone with strong interpersonal skills, and you have 3 younger siblings, and you got to get them dressed in the morning, and you got to kind of finesse getting them to do what you need for them to do, your ability to communicate that, whether it's in an interview, whether it's online, whether it's in a presentation, is something that I always look for, because that makes you a good salesperson. That makes you a person that can get in front of in a room and work the room with your interpersonal skills. So I would say communication and the ability to communicate transferable skills.
Yes.
for me, it's the, of course, all of that, confidence, all this, but one thing I'm really looking for is someone who is able to take constructive criticism and understand that there is always room to grow. My mother taught me very early on that there's a difference between a manager and a leader. And she would come home all the time, she's like, listen, I got all these kids, they're so much smarter than me on my team, and that's perfect because I don't know it all. And I always have room to grow, and the ones that she's been able to groom, as well as myself, but I've been able to groom. I mean, when I got my first promotion at Planned Parenthood, I said, I'm not going unless this young Latina girl who works so hard and is here later than I am, she's promoted as well. And now she took my old job when I got promoted again. Because there's this ability to take some constructive feedback and some growth. I look at myself, I've done several jobs within the communications industry. Talking to the media every single day is not my favorite. I'm not the strongest at it. So let me figure out what's best for me and build up the people who are better in that. And so we're not able to take constructive criticism and understand that all of us, even those of us in the executive suite, right, are able to have things that we need to work on and grow and improve on, and how we're going to build a team that's also going to perform at their best, and in the areas in which they need to grow, they're able to be open and understand, okay, how can I excel to not only make myself better, but to make this company and this project, whatever it is that I'm working on better.
That's a fantastic answer. I'm just going to piggyback and just say I agree. But after I've gotten to that point, then I start to look for the people who can cross over and keep it moving. I play basketball, so I often reference that. And even working at Target for 4 years as an executive, I moved from so many different businesses for them. And ultimately, all of the time I had to cross over. I had to decide that I wanted to keep it moving toward the goal. How do you get from Target to THC? You have to make that shift. So really the flexibility, the ability to take those transferable skills and say, how does it actually work here? I'm in an industry that doesn't really exist yet, and I'm trying to build it. So I'm taking those same skills that I learned in corporate America and saying, how does it work here? And as I look for my team in this industry, I'm looking for those same stars that have that capability of coming to the table with interpersonal skills, can take constructive feedback. I got told I was a radical candidate leader. I tell you straight, no chaser. It's real talk all day. I'm from Brooklyn, I'm sorry I can't help myself. But at the end of the day, if you're able to take that and make it positive and take it to the hoop and take it to the goal and help us with the win, then I know you can be successful on our team.
Pretty much what everybody said on this panel, but just to add somebody who is driven and has patience. You know, we live in this instant gratification world right now where people think success is something that's overnight. And unfortunately, that's not the way it works for everything. So having somebody on my team who understands this is a marathon and not a sprint.
With the career build and stuff like that, if I know a partner is worthy of my investment, it's going to help me build my brand, I will do that. I know if it's also a sister friend that may need a connection, and I can make a connection and make some happen for her, I'm going to do that for her. And maybe I'll discount my services. I will say this too about working for free though. Sometimes when you get things for free, sometimes, you know, it depends on the person. I think you have to know and totally understand and have this sort of understanding what you get back and it's equitable. But sometimes to that value can be free as well. I think you have to know what your limit is. And I think you have to know what your work is and what you have to understand what you're going to get out of the deal. I mean, it has to be something you're going to get out of the deal, right? Always know what that is going into it so you aren't frustrated, you know, in the end when you're putting in 20-hour days and wait a minute, I didn't do that. You know, it's going to help you out, but I ain't doing the whole thing. You know, so you got to have an understanding about that. I think going into things and about jumping straight into it. You know, I think that, again, I agree. The side hustle is so important. Like, you know, you instead of being on social media, you know, on Facebook every day, look at everybody's story and being nosy, you know, oh, girl, you heard what happened? So you can't do all that, you know. But I think that you have to figure out, you know, a time that you invest in yourself. I think that is daily. And I think you have to write out a plan. You have to visually write out where you want to be in your life so you visually see it. If you don't visually see it, I don't think it comes to fruition. You know, I think that you have to also be vibrationally, you know, put it out there. Even when you can't see or understand what the dream is, or you don't know how you're going to get there, keep claiming that every day. You'll be surprised at the things that God moves. You know, He puts in place when you don't think there's a way. You know, I mean, how many of us, I think us can attest to the power of prayer. And that's important. And that's important that you do intend your life. I think I always tell my nieces who's 25, 26 in the audience, you know, she gets frustrated sometimes. Like, you know, she had a little
just on Friday. Yeah. And it's very, very limited production. So if you text Magic to 474747, it'll give you access to purchase. So it's exclusively for Essence Festival women.
This is awesome. I want to start just kind of back on how you guys actually met. Your story is incredible, and I think it really speaks to the power of forgiveness and acceptance. But how you were born in 2 different continents, right? How were you able to meet one another, one, and then actually have enough faith and love with each other to say, I'm going to start a business with you?
It's a long story, so I'm trying to think how to make that.
We have about 20 minutes.
Okay, I'll chop it up. But yeah, so we grew up in 2 different countries, right? So I grew up in California, Andrea grew up in New Zealand. Our father, who neither of us grew up with, was a Rolling Stone. So we were, that's a short story. This is how I'm going to keep it short. So we were both born in Los Angeles, but both of our mothers moved us away from Los Angeles when we were young, so we didn't know about each other at all. It wasn't until later in life that our mutual father became ill. He was terminally ill, and asked his family to find the 2 of us and connect us, knowing that we didn't even know that each other existed. And this was in 1996 that they started the search. So no internet, no Facebook, no Google. It took years. Somehow they found Andrea in New Zealand first, and then another 4 years before they found me. I just moved to Atlanta, and unfortunately he had passed by the time they found me, but it was all due to his family's persistence and hard work and diligence to keep searching for 4 years to find both of us.
And then how were you able to sort of get over the shock that you have this extra sister, not even a family member, but like your sister, and say, I trust you enough to start a business with you?
So when we first met, the first initial kind of questions that came out were, what was it like when you grew up? And we both grew up in these very small agriculture towns that were New World winemaking regions. And independent of each other, we had dreams that we wanted to be winemakers. So when we met in '99, I was actually living in foster care. So, and my mother has passed as well. So finding Robin was like super special for me.
Wow.
And I was being recruited on athletic scholarships to come back to the United States. So I basically chose my university based on where Robin was. And then I went to school in LA, and Robin, by that time, had moved back to Monterey. And every other weekend, I would drive up or she would come down, and we started to really bond. So when we were talking about how that trust happened, I think we really needed to bond first as sisters. And then we would kind of always end up around vineyards and wine tasting rooms. And we would do this thing called like driving and dreaming. You know, we would just be driving and then kind of talking about our dreams out loud. And then eventually got to the point where we talked about having a wine company so much. We're like, okay, we need to be about it. Let's do it.
I don't know if y'all caught that, Jim, but she talked about driving and dreaming and saying your dreams aloud and the power that has to shift the universe and to make stuff happen. I think a lot of us are afraid to announce our dreams and to say them out loud. We think that people are going to make fun of us, or we think people will discount us. But there is a real power in saying what you want aloud.
Performer, but you know, you can't always get work, especially when you're starting out. So I started writing for Mike X, a one-woman show that I was doing, and he saw me, introduced me to the folks that were doing the BET Awards. I wrote on a sketch show for him for Comedy Central that never aired. And then I was the queen of writing for things that never aired for many years.
That's all right.
And they were like, oh wow, how'd you get your own show? You just got here. I'm like, no, I didn't. But that's okay. You want people to think that you're, you know, young and just showed up and not there. But But no, I'm not. But it's good because, you know, I think you said you were at Summit 21, right? I told this story. Was anybody else there? No, good. You won't know the story.
It's fresh.
It's fresh. No, I had this. I was in Chicago. I went to Northwestern, then I did Second City. And I was on the train, and I was about to move. I was doing really well at Second City. I was like one of the youngest African-American women to ever be on one of the main stage shows. So I was like, great, I conquered Chicago, now I can go to LA. So I was on the train, and I was kind of just sitting, praying, you know, about this move, because to me, everybody was kind of saying, like, don't move to LA yet, you're too young, you don't know what you're doing, you know, you're not in the union. And I said, God, if I'm supposed to be there, like, you know, let this be what I'm supposed to be doing. And I had this thought kind of enter my mind, like, this question that was asked of me in my mind. I heard, do you want to be a real overnight success, make it in less than a year, but burn out? Or do you want to be in the business forever, but take 10 years before anybody knows who you are? Right. And this man, and I thought about this question. This is something a lot of people in the entertainment industry should think about. Yeah. Especially for Black women. I think the average is like 12 years before you ever make a living doing it as an actress. That's crazy. But I was thinking about this question, thinking about it, and this man turns around and opens his jacket, and it says 10 on it. And I was like, wow. I was like, well, I guess that's it. I guess that's it. I'm supposed to be in the business. And about at the 10-year mark, I got on a sketch show with A. Crockett, produced by Jamie Foxx, as a runner-performer, and it was on Fox, and that was my biggest. Because I was the queen of canceled pilots in front of the camera and behind. But that one was the first one that got me like a lot of attention, and then kind of went from there. But
for women and people of color in general to know that we can do anything that we put our minds to, because historically we have constantly been placed in situations which we're not supposed to survive. When you study the laws that are written to keep us in certain places, not just in this country, but in other countries, the way that systems are set up so that we don't become homeowners, so that we don't have good credit scores, so that we don't get the job that we're supposed to get. We're not supposed to be here. You know, we're not supposed to survive, and we continue to survive. So when we put our minds to things, there is nothing that we can't do. And
none of these people are the right person for you. You know, I think the best mentors choose you. I think he definitely chose me, and then I just, you know, didn't let go. Actually, like, selectively annoying, you know, but like, look, I think people, like, I have kids come up to me and they say, will you mentor me? Will you mentor me? And I'm like, what is your name? Like, you need to introduce yourself. But I think the concept of a mentor, right, I think is not just one way. I don't think the comedians and stuff and writers and performers that I mentor now, they help me. Like, some of them are the people I hired as writers. I think that the right mentor relationship is mutually beneficial. I think your mentor is learning from you and you're learning from your mentor. So I think that they choose you. I think it's great to have people that you work with in a job capacity in some way. I wrote for Chris on when he hosted the BET Awards a few years back, and we just stayed in contact. And he's just like an incredible supporter of Black women, and especially Black women comedians. People don't even realize how much he mentors us behind the scenes. Like, the rest of the world would not know, but I'm here to tell you, that man is in the clubs, he's following people, he knows your jokes, he'll tell you, oh, do this, do that. Like, he's incredible. And he's an incredible man. But I think when you're choosing a mentor in any career, I think the most important thing really is to say, well, what can I offer to this mentor that makes them feel like they should mentor me? And I know that feels backwards, right? Like, no, they're supposed to offer me something. But I think for me, with Chris as my mentor, I wrote for him. I went on the road to go see his shows, and I was like, oh, do this for this show. What about this? You know, throwing out joke punches and whatever, even when you didn't ask for them. Like, why does Chris Rock need me? But the weird thing is, the greatest people are so humble, and he'll take a joke punch from anybody. Like, but he doesn't need it. Like, when you write for Chris Rock, you're just watching him do his jokes that he's already written. Like, he does not need the help, I want to be clear. But you know, like the group that was writing included me, Leslie Jones, like right before she got on SNL, like Tiffany Haddish has always been around in these circles. Like all these women, I don't know if you guys know Janelle James, she's this incredible comedian. You'll see more of her soon. But I think it's important.
And then now, y'all.
Yeah. She's great. She's got a Netflix special coming out. Yeah. She's dope. She's so dope. So for me, like I was the first Black woman to be a head writer in late night comedy on the Night Night Show, but I hired the second. And I'm tired of being the first. So this woman, Lauren Ashley Smith, I mean, I look at her as a mentee, and she's just incredible. She's an incredible writer who literally just hadn't been given the chance to do late night. She was working on Watch What Happens Live on Bravo. Yeah. She was great. She was in, and she was doing like all these like what was the Best Week Ever, those kind of shows. But she couldn't break into the super white male dominated late night, world. And then my show came up and she was just like, I sent her packet immediately, and she's so good. I don't know if any of you have seen my show, but she. Her writing packet, her submission had The Handmaid's Tale in it, which was our spoof of The Handmaid's Tale, which is
Secure the Bag, the truth about access to capital and business funding in partnership with New Voices Fund. I don't know if you guys heard the news, but Essence is partnering with Antifa to have this new fund that gives over $20 million in capital to Black creatives, whether that be writing, screenplays, anything like that. We're giving money, and we want to see more Black women in these spaces. So this is being sponsored by them. With that said, we have 4 amazing speakers today. The first is Arlan Hamilton, and he's the founder of and managing partner of Backstage Capital. Arlan built a venture capital fund from the ground up while homeless. She is the founding and managing partner of Backstage Capital, a fund that is dedicated to minimizing funding disparities in tech by investing in high potential founders who are of color, women, and or LGBT. Started from scratch in 2015, Backstage has now invested nearly $5 million into 100 startup companies led by underestimated founders. Please welcome Arlan Hamilton.
Arlen? Yes.
Yeah, come on and sit. We're gonna need more the next we have is Savitri Wilson, the founder and CEO of Solid Ground Innovations. Savitri is a serial entrepreneur and the founder of 2 companies, Solid Ground Innovations, and most recently, Exempt Me Now, a New Orleans-based tech startup that simplifies the creation, management, and compliance process for tax-exempt and for nonprofit entities. She has raised $2 million for her startup to date, making her the first Black woman in Louisiana to raise over $1 million in venture capital. So she's popular. And the most any woman of color in this state has done before. In her role at Exempt Me Now, Savitri sets the vision for the company, builds and manages the team, and leads the company's execution against its strategy. Some of her highlights include being named Businesswoman of the Year by the state of Louisiana, Louisiana's Legislative Women's Caucus, winning the National Nobel Prize for Public Service, the Jefferson Award, and being named to Tiger 100 Fastest Growing Businesses for 3 consecutive years. Please welcome Savitri. And then we have Melissa Butler, who is the CEO of Lit Bar. She is a Detroit native who has skillfully and strategically launched startup beauty brand, the Lit Bar, and it's a nationwide phenomenon, which many of us have heard of. Melissa obtained her bachelor's degree in business finance from Florida A&M before going on to work on Wall Street as a licensed stockbroker. Her journey from stocks and bonds to beauty was created by her frustration with the beauty industry's lack of diversity and excessive amounts of chemicals. This frustration led Melissa to manufacture lipstick in her Brooklyn kitchen in an effort to challenge the status quo and the industry's linear take on beauty. So please welcome Melissa.
Greece, we have Rich Dennis, who is the CEO of Essence Ventures, which is special to me since I work in Essence. He's born in Liberia, born in Liberia. Essence Ventures CEO, Richard Dennis, came to the United States to attend renowned business school Babson College. When he graduated in 1991, he was unable to return to Liberia because of civil war. Driven by his passion for entrepreneurship and sustained by a vision to fill unmet consumer needs, Richelieu partnered with his best friend and college roommate, Naima Tubman, to pursue a bold concept: address skin and hair care issues traditionally ignored by mass market companies. Drawn from deep traditions born out of his family roots in Africa and passed down to him from his grandmother, Richelieu incorporated 4 generations of recipes, wisdom, and cultural experiences into natural bath and beauty care products. Co-funding Sundown Brands, which we now know as Shea Moisture, with his mother, Mary Dennis, and Naima. He now takes the helm as a visionary for Essence Ventures. Welcome, Rich, please.
Excuse my drink, please.
I was going to say after me.
Yeah, come on.
So I want to get right into it. I mean, we have so many people who are trying to grow their businesses, want to know where to start, want to know how to access capital. I think that's one of the hardest things, is knowing how and when to access capital. And I guess the first question is, you've got the idea, you need funding. When are you ready to start asking for capital? And where do you go?
So can I just start by saying we have a special guest?
Yes.
That we didn't know was here. So here's your bonus. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Mona Scott Young. She was back there. She'll be out in a moment. But no, she's in the building.
Yeah. So in terms of accessing capital, when you have an idea, where do you, I think, there's Mona.
There you go.
Is there a seat?
Right here. And a mic.
Completely impromptu, but I'm here.
This is what happens when you have friends who care about their community. And she comes and gives her time to talk to us and share with us. So thank you.
I'm here. Thank you.
I think we're going to work on making a chair as well. Okay, so yes, we were talking about capital, building capital, having an idea, and where do you go when you need it, when you have your idea and you want to get started. And when do you know you're ready with an idea? Do you need a business plan? Like, where do you start? Anybody can speak on it. Yeah.
I can start from the entrepreneurship perspective. So I have a startup beauty brand called The Lip Bar. I started the company making lipstick in my kitchen while working on Wall Street. So immediately I had this great idea to transform the way my community thought about beauty for themselves, and ultimately extended that idea to their sister. I was really frustrated with the beauty industry and its lack of diversity, its excessive chemicals. So bam, I have an idea, right? And so it was my goal to learn as much as I could about my business, because I wanted to have some skin in the game. And when we started to grow, I launched on UrbanOutfitters.com, I launched on Forever21.com, I was doing trunk shows with Bloomingdale. Ultimately, I landed a deal on Target.com, and I was like, oh shit, well, I know that this isn't a sustainable way for me to continue to bootstrap. Now I need funding. So I started pitching VCs, reaching out to people like, well, how do you raise capital? Because by and large, our community has no idea what it looks like to raise capital, and we certainly don't always have the friends and family to reach out to and say, hey, I have this traction, or I have this amazing idea, but now I need help funding it. So I started practicing. I started reaching out to people who I knew had fundraised. I started reaching out to VCs, and I was told no every single time. And relationships is huge, like they're huge. I remember running up to Richelieu at a show called Cosmo Pop, like, hey, like, I've been stalking you for years. And he's like, well, first of all, you've been using the wrong email address. But here's my email address, here's my phone number, call me at any time. So that really just speaks to relationship building, because this was 2 years ago, and now I'm one of the first investees in the New Voices Fund. So it's certainly building those relationships and knowing and not being afraid to reach out to people in your community who aren't necessarily in your network, who you know are doing what you want to do, or even doing what you are doing but maybe doing it better.
Can I add to that? When you talk about running into Richard, you talk about, being able to kind of pitch right there on the spot. Was clarity about what you wanted from the opportunity an important element of this?
Absolutely. So it's one thing to say, hey, I have an idea, can you help me? It's a completely different thing to say, hey, I have an idea, this is what I've done with my idea, this is the traction that I've been able to get on my own, and now I need help getting to the next level. So at the point in which we decided to engage in a partnership, I had already had traction. I had already launched on Target.com. I had already had a plan to go into Target stores, and then when we launched, I had the #1 selling lipstick in the store, outpacing national brands.
For a reason, because a lot of times we all have great ideas, but we don't have the clarity of communication in making sure that we can articulate those ideas to the people who can help us take it to another level. And that's the important element that I always stress. Be very clear. You talked a little bit about educating yourself and utilizing the resources that were available to you to get the information. Right? So the internet has provided an incredible platform, an opportunity for us to source information. But make sure that you can succinctly and clearly, communicate what it is you need from an opportunity. What it is your brand is, your business is. Make sure that you can communicate that, because that chance encounter gave you an opportunity, but if you were not able to communicate clearly in that moment, you would have missed that opportunity. So I always talk about communication, clarity, and just having that encapsulated pitch always at the ready, at your fingertips, so when that moment presents itself, you can, do what you have to do to communicate that.
Yeah. And Mona kind of touched a little bit on it, but with the new mediums that we have with online media and all these things, what are your thoughts on crowdfunding? I mean, I think that's probably the best place to have that clear communication of what you're raising for, but I guess, is it ever too early to be doing that? I mean, your idea's out there at that point. So what are your thoughts on crowdfunding? Do you do it, yay, nay?
I think it depends on what your product is, right? The internet has created this incredible leveling of the playing field for us and the ability to access resources that were not previously available to us. But again, when you have an opportunity to, have that platform to touch people, to motivate them, to help you fund whatever it is you want to do, I think you should take advantage of whatever resources are available to you. Crowdfunding is a great opportunity. I know a lot of people who have gotten feature projects, content projects funded by just putting that project out there. But it goes back to communicating your agenda and really soliciting those funds. But those opportunities are out there for that. You should take advantage of it.
I'll mention one thing from the VC perspective. Sometimes your first crowdfunding is actually just your website, just your, having a proof that someone wants to use your product. Because sometimes crowdfunding costs you money to put together. It's a whole process. It definitely costs you time, especially if you do unaccredited investors. There's a whole process you have to go through and accreditation you have to get for your company to be able to do that. So before you take that leap, make sure that you have something that someone else has given you that legitimacy of that it's something that people want. You just want to make sure that you're in that. And also when it comes to like articulating your vision, what I found is like some people hack it and they have champions for them. Because some people are introverted. Some people don't know exactly how to say what they want to say, yes. And so they'll have someone who's on their team or who, you know, on the weekends is the co-founder, you know what I mean, when they're first starting. And sometimes no one explains your vision better than someone who believes in your vision. So sometimes it's about having, it can be a very lonely place to be a solo founder. I'll talk to solo founders all day. I don't have a problem with it when it comes to your capabilities. But I do know it's lonely, and so sometimes that can be a hack.
Yeah, but I do believe that if you do anything when you're starting any kind of a business venture, any kind of, you know, an initiative, that you be clear about what it is that your product is, what it is you're trying to offer, and be clear in the articulation of that. That is so important. Communication is key, whether it is motivating other people to do what you need done or getting people to buy into your product, to believe in you. You know, as the person selling that product, you have to be able to articulate that clearly. And I can't stress that enough because I run into people all the time that are like, I have this great idea. And I'm like, okay, what is it? And they can't put it into words. And I'm like, if you can't articulate your idea, how can I help you bring it to fruition? So that we enter into it, we'd all be super successful. You have to get the analytics, you have to do the research, you have to do the homework, you have to have a solid plan. And again, I keep stressing the clarity in articulation and communication because that translates even to that return on investment. When you've done the research and you know exactly what those analytics are, you can best present your case. You can best put forth, you know, the metrics that hopefully will lead to a positive return on investment, but there's no guarantee on anything. But the more people feel like, okay, there's been work put in, they have taken the time to do the homework, to do the research, I am investing in this person's their investment in themselves, their investment in the time that they've taken to research what it is they're trying to get into. We enter into it, we'd all be super successful. You have to get the analytics, you have to do the research, you have to do the homework, you have to have a solid plan. And again, I keep stressing the clarity in articulation and communication because that translates even to that return on investment. When you've done the research and you know exactly what those analytics are, you can best present your case. You can best put forth, you know, the metrics that hopefully will lead to a positive return on investment, but there's no guarantee on anything. But the more people feel like, okay, there's been work put in, they have taken the time to do the homework, to do the research, I am investing in this person's their investment in themselves, their investment in the time that they've taken to research what it is they're trying to get into.
That's something that we have to work hard at as a business community, right? If you're investing in and that is something that I think when you think about the community piece, it's very one-sided. It's not. It's like we talk about community, but we act as individuals.
Yes,
right?
yes.
And if we're going to build these businesses and if we're going to help each other through this, right? It's how do we add value to each other?
Can we have your attention, please? Can you come closer? Everybody come closer. Closer. Come closer.
Oh, you go ahead, go ahead. Excuse me.
Come closer, closer, quiet and close. Come on, let's love on each other. Come closer. And be quiet. All right, now we need quiet. Quiet. There you go. Michelle?
Wow.
See what happens, when, Rich comes in, writes the check, buys Essence, we have our freedom, and sets up the stage.
Okay.
Can we give a brother a round of applause? Black women, we can do a lot on our own, but we're not asking to do it on our own. Are we asking to do it on our own? No. We're not asking for that. We want our brothers there. We need you there. That's a part of our family that we uphold. It's important to us. So thank you for being just there in the trenches. Thank you for the inspiration of your grandmother, the matriarchs in your family, your mom, your wife, your daughters, who taught you what really this means to what Black women need to our community. So we're thrilled for that, and I'm honored to be here because this is a wonderful example of what's a part of this new beginning at Essence. It started in 1970, and we're this little baby now that has the brightest future ahead of it. And this weekend, so many people, all of you have been thanking us for this experience, thanking the Essence team, thanking, Rich and the family, the investment in the fund. But this is because of you all. Black women, the work that you do every day, the love that you have, you've created this reservoir of goodwill and good energy. And Essence is just a platform for that. It's representative of your beauty, your passion, your purpose. That's all it is. And when we're at our best at Essence, we don't get in your way. And now that we have our freedom, our partners at Coca-Cola told me on Friday when we spoke, they said, Michelle, we saw you up there and we said she's free. She's free. And I'm free.
Yes, Lord.
Essence is free. Because we all need our freedom.
Yes.
So that we can be who we are destined to be.
That's right.
So we have that. And this is a representation where we're not constrained. What else can we do? What else can we do? But we're just scratching the surface. But it's your potential, it's your passion, it's your investment. And we just want to say that we see you, and we love you, and we are committed to your potential. We are committed. And not only are we committed, but know that our ancestors see you. The ancestors who fought for this moment see you and are committed. So what do we take from here and go back and make possible and keep supporting each other in this culture? This E-Suite, we don't need anyone to define the C-suite and we're trying to press up against the window to get in. No, you get in with us. If you want to grow, if you want to be relevant, come to the E-Suite. Yes. Right? But that's what you all put into this culture and this world. And it's what you represent, and it is our honor. It is our honor and our privilege. And we are privileged.
Yeah.
Yes.
Of investing, right? And this whole idea of capital. I think one of the biggest opportunities that we have, at least I discovered, so I didn't take an investment in our French business in Sundial until 2018, until 2015. So we had been in business almost 25 years. Actually, we were 25 years old when we took our first loan, our first investment, our first anything, right? And we were already a $200 million business. That was because, when I started this business, I was 19 years old, and my mother was 50 years old. And my mother had come to my college graduation, and the Civil War broke out in Liberia, and she had nothing. So there was no history, right? And I was a 19-year-old male, black male. Nobody was giving me any money, right? So we started selling on the street, and we just sort of self-financed it. You sell today, and you invest it tomorrow, and you sell tomorrow, and you invest it the day after. Where I'm going with it is, you don't always need investment, right? You don't always need money at scale. You may need $5, $10, $50,000, $100,000 to get your business started, and we don't necessarily have access to $100,000 in friends and family in our communities whenever we want it, right? But can you go out and hustle $5 grand? I think you can, right? What that leads to is a discipline around what you actually need versus what you perceive the need is, right?
Businesses, how important is it when you're approaching people with money that this is actually going to sell? Like, you've done the research, but is it going to sell?
Ritual always says, this isn't charity. I mean, at the core of it, it's business, and business needs profits. Business needs ROI, so you certainly need to be able to say, this is where I'm at right now, but with this investment, this is where I can get. So it's